All
Good
right.
morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. It's so good to see you, even by the miracle of Zoom.
Yeah, I'd be honest with you. I'd rather eat a bug than figure all this out. But I'm told that just makes me a curmudgeon. But no,
Well,
I'm glad to be there electronically or otherwise.
I'm also not also, but I'm a Luddite. I fortunately have got some young people in our store that have helped set this up for me. I just show up and keep my fingers crossed that they know how to do it.
Yeah, also have a young person who keeps me more or less connected. But if anything ever happens to them, I'm just sunk. So
Now, are you at your place now? Or are you at an office somewhere else? Are you on the
it's
road?
I'm actually at my house in Fairhope.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
I've
Well,
we didn't because of COVID, we couldn't
yeah,
do a book tour.
right,
Hence why you and I are talking this way
right.
instead of in person, and we couldn't do a book tour, so we uh, I did maybe a half dozen places, and it was pretty rigidly orchestrated.
I saw you in the church in Decatur. I did watch that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Instead of doing the Carter Center, which is what we usually there, we went to the church, and
yeah,
and that way people could spread out. Although I
yeah. I
was,
saw everybody spread out pretty good, but I enjoyed it though, even in that way. And yeah, I love the Carter Center, and of course, President Carter and all that. That's a great place. Well, thank you for doing this, for making
sure.
the effort to do this. I know you got lots of people calling on you, and I know on behalf of all of your friends across the state line here in Northeast Mississippi, we claim you as close as we can, and we get away with it a lot of the time. So
Well,
thank you for
there are
making
worse
time
things
for us.
that I've been claimed and called much worse. So,
Well, you're a favorite around here, and listen, I think this book is just going to be a mega hit. I promise you. I think it has got legs and legs and legs as far as just I'm gonna give it to my not only my children, but I'm gonna give it to my 10 and 12-year-old granddaughters,
oh, okay.
and yeah, I just think there's just gonna be so many people that relate to this book. And it's just like just like the best cook in the world is not all about recipes and food. This it is a dog book, but there's about the companionship and just helping each other get through life. But there's just so much more to this book. I just want to say congratulations on it.
No, well, thank you. Now, it's funny. It wasn't the book it wasn't the book I wanted to do. I wanted to do just a book about a bad dog, just a book about a dog that, drags a dead deer up in the yard every other month, and rolls in every form of manure ever created, and just a bad, bad, bad dog. And but instead, as you probably have heard, we lost my brother Sam.
Yes, and I was going to mention that too, but please accept our condolences.
Well, thank you.
On that.
I appreciate that. Sam began to fail toward the end of this book. The book is written, I didn't go back and change things.
Yeah.
And you can see the importance of the dog and the value of the dog grow as things get more serious, and you just needed him. And as I say in the book, I wasn't going to write about, well, I didn't say this in the book, but I wasn't going to write about the passing of my brother in a dog book. I wasn't going to do that. So what happened was, as he began to fail, the dog just abandoned me and took up with my brother. And my brother never liked the dog.
Yeah, I read that.
He even spit on his head. But he, you know, people say that that dogs they can sense when someone is hurting and when someone needs them. And this one sure did. And he and my brother they'd sit in a lawn chair and watch the sunset every night. And so it became a much more serious book than I intended it to be. Now, there's still plenty I mean, he's a terrible dog.
Well, and we would get to that too. And I'm going to just say right off the bat, because I've had 10 people already have asked our bookstore people and me, I don't want to read if this is Old Yeller, I don't want to buy it because things are hard enough these days. So spoiler alert, on the good side, the dog is here. The dog, you can go to Rick's Facebook page and see Rick patting the dog. So
yeah,
I did want to say that up front because seriously, you know, people just said I just can't. I don't think I can take a sad dog book right now. So and there's some really funny things. I want to get to one or two of them, let you talk about them. But so it's both and. That's the thing about it. It really is. Yeah. It's funny, but it's poignant too. And it's both and, which really rounds it out.
Well, we made a conscious decision, and this isn't giving away any kind of ending, but I wasn't going to write another dead dog book. I just couldn't. I mean, I knew I couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the stupid dog, and so I even told my agent, and this was a strange conversation, you know, her in Manhattan, and me sitting there with that terrible dog asleep under my feet. You know, I said, I don't think that, you know, if something were to happen to the dog, I don't think I can finish this. I think we got to call it off. Yeah. And you know, that's not a good conversation to have. But no, what time is it? It's about noon or so.
Yeah.
Then he'll be sitting on the end of the couch, and he likes to sit on the couch. He's not like a lot of dogs. He will sit up like a person. He and my mom right now are watching The Virginian.
Well, one good thing is, another thing though, people be glad to know your mom is still with us.
Oh yes, very much so.
And I know everybody has gotten to know your family, although and I don't want to get too somber, but I do again, I want to say I read about your mama's family in the last 2 years graduating. So that's anyway. Well, I was going to say the last dog book author we had in was a long time ago. Willie Morris came to Reed's bookstore with my dog Skip. We had to rescue him from a restaurant across the street that he was still enjoying life in, and I had to go over and say, Willie, the fans are waiting on you over here.
Yeah, but, Willie could enjoy life better than anybody I've ever met.
You know, he said, or they said about him at his funeral that, you know, he said to himself, he said, I'd wake up, the first thing I think about every morning is how can I have fun today? Yeah. Which is, but you don't know a lot of people like that, but apparently he did most days. But anyway, well, I was going to say that our son was probably 10 years old, and he was the dog lover of our family, and his dog was named Sadie, and this was a typical Willie thing. He autographed his book to Sadie. He said, to the noble Sadie, please take care of little Jack. Yeah. Which I thought was a typical Willie thing. But anyway, but this book I was just going to say, if people are dog lovers, this will be a great book for them, and particularly if they think they've got a bad dog, they can compare it to Speck and see if they see who's worse.
Well, they can try. They can try to compare it. I think I could win a lot of money betting that I have the worst dog that's ever gone to breath. Well,
some of your stories of the stuff he gets into are really, really funny. I was, and we're talking about funny. My wife was in the other room a couple of weeks ago when I was reading this, and she said, "Jack, I'm so glad to hear you just laughing out loud again. What are you laughing at?" I said, "I'm reading Rick Bragg's new book." I said, "They're just some hilarious. I mean, you're the way you could turn a phrase. I was thinking one of them was, which would relate to people here in Tupelo and Northeast Mississippi. You said, this maybe not be verbatim, but you said I was sitting in an old lawn chair, rubbing Speck's head, and it was Jacksonville, Alabama on a weekday night. And I sure as hell didn't have anything else to do. And I was telling a friend of mine I was having supper with last night, I told him that, and he said, "I do that every night. I just sit down at night and just rub my dog's head." He said, "I know exactly what he's talking about."
Well, I'm getting to the age where that's about all the excitement I really need to get into anyway. So, but no, I hope people laugh out loud at it. You know, it started in an incredibly somber way. He'd been I don't want to say pack dog. That makes it sound like we're in the Yukon. But he'd been a stray that ran with a pack of dogs, and I had seen him for months and months and months, and you know, he was always fighting. He was always in the ditch fighting over either a female in heat or a hamburger sack somebody had thrown out, and there were all these people dumped their unwanted dogs off, and we have rescued dozens of them over the years. But, you know, you can't just walk up to them and say, not always, some of them you can. And then several months later, you know, I saw him up on the top of the ridge line behind the cabin, and he'd been torn up. I mean, you know, obviously some bigger or meaner dog, or maybe several, had tore him up, and he was up there just starving to death, just waiting to die. And I went up and got him and brought him home. You know, men in my family, as I wrote in the book, we've never been real careful. So my brother Sam, bless his heart, he said, "For God's sake, don't go get that dog." You know, and I brought him down and fed him, and he repaid me by terrorizing the cats, trying to kill the other dogs, and stampeding the livestock. And I am not kidding. And I am not exaggerating. He's insane. And but he got better.
Yeah.
He got better.
Well, just back to one other humorous thing I thought, which I know applies to a lot of folks around here. You did say something like, you know, I may not be a big shot everywhere, but I'm a big shot at the Huddle House down here. I bet you would be at Tupelo's Huddle House too.
Well, you know, I don't know if my reach extends that far.
Well, I think you'd be well known here. I think you'd be well known here.
Yeah, the Huddle House is one of those places where I know if I ever forgot my wallet, they wouldn't make me, like, you know, sign anything.
We had, I'll tell you a funny story up here. I was, you may remember, I had a term as mayor. That's not like a term in jail.
No, I knew that. Yeah,
but it's not unlike it in some ways. Well, anyway, it started being hard to go out to eat without people saying, you know, Mary, I hate to bother you, but we need this pothole fixed. We need this. But well, anyway, one Saturday morning, my wife and I wanted to go to the Huddle House, get some breakfast so we wouldn't have to cook. But we both wore hooded sweatshirts. And I said, Lisa said, no, I don't want to dress up. I said, you won't have to. Nobody knows. We'll just sneak in. We walk in the door, and one of the cook looks up and says, "Mayor in the house, mayor in the house." And my wife just goes, "Oh." No. Anyway, those Huddle Houses, of course, men's coffee clubs all over the South, I guess all over the country, but I know all over the South. I mean, there's no more typical tradition than old men sitting around having coffee.
what was amazing to me at the one in Jacksonville is the old men would go in, they'd eat breakfast at home. You know, they'd cook up a pan of biscuits and fry some eggs, and then they'd go there to drink free coffee and probably about the mayor.
Probably. The Speck, you said, loves to hear people laughing. I thought that was an interesting observation.
I think, obviously he's mostly Australian Shepherd, so he's intuitive anyway. Yeah, they're supposed to be as smart as a kid, and he's probably a damn sight smarter than a lot of kids I've run into. But he will do things to make you laugh. Like, for instance, he won't just roll. He will get a running start and fling himself down on his back and bicycle his legs in the air and until you laugh. Yeah. And as long as you laugh, he will continue. And he and my mom play pee-pie.
You said that. I thought that, I have a dog that I do that with, but I thought that was.
I didn't know another one. I've never heard anybody else say it, but yeah. And they'll do it as long as mom will do it. And she talks to him like he's a child.
Yeah.
I mostly just say, usually profanity laced language. Like, get down.
You skipped it in this book, though. That's another reason people can give this to these younger readers too. You've always had a wonderful way for metaphors and similes and just creative ways to think about life. That's one of the things I love about your writing. Anyway, I'm certainly not alone in that, but just the way you like. When you were talking about the roadkill, and you said the crows line the fence posts like undertakers.
Yeah,
I never thought that. Steve Holland, a friend of mine, is an undertaker. I'm going to tell him, Steve, when I see these crows from now on, I'm going to think about you. But I mean, that's a great Southern, just something we could certainly relate to. I loved your comment about the about the haircut. You said I got my haircut. I didn't expect to come out of it looking like a movie star, but I didn't expect to look just like me, but with bigger ears.
Yeah, well, how your ears, get bigger, but and this is again, I've been cutting my own hair for 45 years, and people ask me why that is. They just say, "Are you that cheap?" And I say, "No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just the old-fashioned barbershop is almost extinct, and I just, the amount of time, the investment of time, and the red tape involved, I just don't have 3/4 of the day to devote to a process that is not going to greatly improve me one way or the other. And so I found a good pair of sharp scissors, and you got to be careful around my eyes and ears. But other than that, I do a pretty good job.
There's a great scene in the book about you, and you even got your brother to help you clean up Speck.
Well, see, we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know that he's not the breed of dog that you really need to, but he had so much matted hair, and because again, he was a stray. But I think I said in the book, when we were done, he looked like a chicken that had been blown through a factory fan.
I had the one single no second place worst haircut I ever got was when I was in law school, and of course that was back the early 70s. People were having long hair, and I thought I'd need to get mine shortened up for interviews to practice law, to go to these law firms and look like I was a mature adult, impersonate one. And this woman went to, it was called La Mystique. which I later called
that
my
was your
mistake.
first mistake.
Anyway, and I wasn't facing the mirror until it was finished, but she said, I can't get this evened up. I can't, I'm high on the left, so I have to, she said, you may not be happy with this. In fact, you look like a shorn sheep. This is one that did cut my hair, but she still wanted to be paid for it. Well, I got to law school the next day, and some rogue had put up a legal pad that said, Jack Reed, this contest, name what Jack Reed looks like. And one of them said, third runner up in an Elton John lookalike contest. But the one that was voted winner was a ringworm patient. So I didn't have good luck with that haircut either. Well, I was thinking about something else we had in common, you have in common with people around Tupelo, was one of the first sights of early fall was the big Ferris wheel on the county fair. Yeah. And I bet we had the same fair come to Tupelo that y'all had because it was called the Mississippi Alabama Fair and Dairy Show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was all the entertainment. I was, almost in the black and white TV days, but I mean, that was it for those 2 weeks. That was everything. And
I miss that tremendously. It's funny, when you're a kid, you don't see the rough edges of a carnival or a fair. You only see the lights, and you smell those onions cooking.
Yeah. It just had its own sensibilities, the whole thing.
And I loved everything about it. I lucked up, and on the softball throw, where you're throwing the softball that weighs about as much as a feather at these milk jugs that are full of cement.
Yeah.
and somehow gravity just took over, and I think they were already leaning.
Yeah.
And but that was one of the highlights of my young life was knocking those bottles over. And
what'd you do with the big bear?
There was a girl involved.
Oh, good. Good. Well, it's fun to be a hero. Talking about making people laugh. I read something not too long ago that said the two things that I don't want any women customers writing in about. So I'm repeating this. I'm not saying this, but they said the two things that women most want in a man are to find someone that's strong and that could take care of them, and that a man that has a sense of humor. So see, you were strong and you got a sense of humor, man. You were the whole package there.
I can only do three things in my life pretty well. I can write a little bit, write enough to get by. Back in my drinking days, I could sing like a bird. I could just sing like a bird. And I remember breaking into song and laying flat on the bed with my feet still on the floor. I considered that to be standing up. and singing at the ceiling, singing Merle Haggard's Rainbow Stew.
Let's hear a little of it. Let's hear a little of it.
No.
Come on.
No.
Bring it back.
If I said eating rainbow stew with a silver spoon underneath the sky of blue, but that wasn't from Under the Bridge. That wasn't that song Under the Bridge, was it? I can't remember. I can't remember.
Anyway,
but the third thing I've always been able to do is throw a softball. I was the pitcher on the Ed Fair Landscape and Dirt Daubers. and the Anniston Stars and the Birmingham Bad News Bears.
Well, man, you kept going everywhere you went.
Yeah, I pitched on many of your finer industrial league softball teams, but
well,
I could drop a softball in a 5-gallon bucket from across the room.
Well, next time you come to Tupelo, we'll set up. We'll go out to the local field and throw some. That would be fun. Well, I would say one thing that your love for Speck did athletically was when you, with all your adrenaline, you basically hurdled this 5-foot-high fence apparently to save him from this cottonmouth. I thought that was like somebody picking up a car to save their child.
Well, first of all, hurdling did not enter into it. but you know, those aluminum and galvanized steel cattle gates.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, it's too high to jump, but they're not really convenient to climb either. And it's been a long time since I climbed a fence, you know, especially in a hurry.
Yeah.
But I think I had the disclaimer in the book where I say I didn't exactly go over it like a squirrel monkey, but I did get over it, and I didn't remember. You know, I remember throwing the shovel. I ducked into because Speck is so dadgum hard-headed. It would never occur to him to stop, you know, haranguing a water moccasin. And, you know, and water moccasins stink. You know, they have that strong musk smell, and the dog just drove him crazy. And it was big enough to where he really saw it as a threat. And, you know, my water moccasins, as you know, they don't get that big.
Yeah.
And this one was not that long, but it was fat. You know, their neck is small, but then they get fat. The body gets thicker. And I mean, he would have done a lot of harm if he had got the dog. But I remember, man, we can tell snake stories all day, but I remember throwing the shovel over the fence, and I really don't remember going over it. I mean, I remember.
Well, that's that adrenaline.
I'm just being frantic because I could just see, you know, Speck only has one good eye. So I could just see that snake nailing him around the mouth or throat. And so many bad things can happen. So yeah, I wouldn't call it heroism, but man, if you're moving so fast, you don't remember getting over the fence. I must have been moving pretty quick for an old fat guy.
Absolutely. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Well, there was one scene, I don't know if you've got a book with you. I was going to ask you, it's short, just a couple of paragraphs, but do you have a book with you? If not, I'll read it.
I can get one over here. Hold on just a second. I'm going to go off camera, as we say.
All right.
Now, if I can find some glasses, we'll be in business. Now, what part?
All right, at page 32 and 33, and you can read as much as you want to, but it's a scene about where the either teenagers or adults are parking in your driveway, and they make a mistake. Speck, of course, has gone out to harass them, but they make a mistake of throwing a beer bottle at him, which got your temper up. I thought that was a great scene.
I can set it up a little bit. What had happened was the dog, you know, he thinks every wayward possum is a sign of the end of times. And so he, hearing him go crazy outside, and we have coyotes, he's unafraid. And so I hear him going crazy outside. And I remember it so well because it was one of those nights where everything was looking pretty good. You know, at my age, a great excitement is getting a movie on TCM. You know, I was watching, I think, Rita Hayworth dance in her bare feet, and you know, had a book on my chest, you know, half read, and I had dozed off. And next thing I hear is Speck just going wild, and ran down to the end of our driveway, and our driveway is between a quarter of a mile and third of a mile long, and saw this old car that had backed into the driveway. Now, that's not unusual. Out in the country, if you have a dark driveway, sometimes kids will go in there and park. Sometimes they might be passing a little weed around. But since crystal meth got our part of the world by the throat, you don't feel as good.
Yeah.
There was a time where I would have not even marked, but Speck was just going crazy. And first he made sure I was following because he wants an audience. And then he took off and he got right up against the driver's side window. And I mean, close enough to like where he'd have been eyeball to eyeball with people in there. And, you know, I just thought I was going out to yell at the dog. So I was in house shoes and I'm pretty sure not real pants. And the next thing I heard was the window coming down and heard that unmistakable, any Southern human knows the sound of a beer bottle rolling on gravel.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe hitting on asphalt, not breaking.
Yeah.
And they had thrown a couple of bottles at my dog. And so this is where we pick up. A dog with any sense would have run away, but I guess all they did was make him mad. I called him once, twice, almost in a whisper. Nothing. I picked up the first dead limb I saw in the gloom. I was not particular. I stepped up closer to the car, almost to the back bumper, and called again in that inane way that people try to whisper as loud as they can. Speck, here, I hissed. Nothing. I took one or two steps more to within a few feet of the car's rear window. What I meant to say, what I had in my mind to say, was a stern, reasonable, y'all need to ease on out of here right now. But what came out instead was a shrill, angry, I'll kill y'all if y'all hurt my dog. I didn't recognize my own voice. I think maybe I used to know the redneck who said crazy stuff like that, who believed he could say things like that and then just absorb the consequences. But that leaping dumbass was surely dead and gone by now. But you see, I didn't have any choice. Even if he is the worst dog of all time, he is my dog. And you don't throw beer bottles at a man's dog and giggle. You can't try to hurt a man's dog right in front of him and get away with it. I remember thinking as I stood there that I wished I had selected a bigger and better twig. But there are just some stupidities that, once committed to, just have to be seen through. And,
thank you. Yeah, that's a great scene. I think everybody can relate to that, but I love that. What I intended to say in my own mind was, y'all need to move on out.
Yeah.
What
you know how, you know, all I do now is say stupid things that I wish I could get back. It seems like it's become a daily occurrence, is just say stupid. And I guess I think that I'm too old for people to knock down, you know, you can't hit me. I'm brittle.
Well,
you know.
Well, I just want to say, I know you've got other commitments, but I appreciate you joining us, and I hope you will hang in there. We need you. We need your voice.
Thank you.
Let's see. Well, just excuse me. I have one question come in from a reader. If you got another minute, again, I don't want to take advantage of your time, but we're certainly enjoying it if you've got the time. But one of your readers sent me this question. Said, "How is your mother? Glad she's still living, but how is your mother doing?"
Yeah. Well, you know, except for her vision is not very good, and but other than that, she is, you know, she's survived colon cancer and survived, you know, a heart attack and survived worse than that, just so many years of her dumbass sons, and she's just survived. And she and Speck are best friends. And I tell her all the time, I say, Mommy, you can't steal my dog. But she's doing okay. I talked to her. I have not left home for more than half a day because we just had so much sadness in the family that I feel like I need to be close to home. And I moved home to take care of her. And but this is the first. I've been gone a week. This is the longest I've been gone. So Speck will be like, he'll weigh 20 pounds more than when I left.
Well, I know originally she made friends with him by continuing to feed him, which is smart. That's what I'm doing with our 2-year-old grandson who lives in Atlanta and I don't get to see very often. So I'm, of course, bribing him as soon as I get to see him. So he'll love his grandfather. Well, if you got time, I was just going to say that, this is not original with me, but I hadn't heard it but once before, that your family, your chronicling of your family and all of the books from Ava's Man and all the chat, all of them, that somebody suggested maybe this would be for your publisher to do, but to put them in a set, just like Shelby Foote's The Civil War, four books, the 4-book set, something. But I mean, really, it's I'm sure. Well, certainly to my knowledge, we've, having a bookstore, I have some knowledge of writing in the last 25, 30 years. I'm sure there's no other collection really of nonfiction storytelling about one family like you've been able to share with us and to write through your own words. It really has been remarkable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sure that at some point they'll probably wait till I'm dead, but I'm sure at some point they'll. That used to be a lot funnier than it is now, but I'm sure at some point they love to do like there have been some leather-bound books made and some beautiful books, reproductions of them, but someday we'll see what happens. But
well, I hope. Are you working on anything else now?
I'm not doing a damn thing for a while. But yeah, I'll. The funny thing about that is the people that I work with tend to like me to actually work. So I'll do something soon. I'm not going to do anything right away. There's just too much to kind of stop out.
One thing that I've gotten to learn through the years with both you and John Grisham, who's our second biggest seller here, is that y'all both work at it. It's not some muse that just drifts in that you all of a sudden run over and write down. I know you and he both. It's work. Your writing is work. Yeah. The reason it's so good is because you work at it.
Well, I've said all along, it's not like carrying concrete blocks up an aluminum ladder. It's not roofing. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's a destructive process, but I always tell myself it's not the kind of thing where you're gonna ruin your knees. Or your shoulders. But yeah, I tend probably not to do it in the healthiest way. I tend to sit down and grind at it sometimes for 18, 20 hours at a time. Wow. But no, this has been fun. I'm heading over to New Orleans.
Oh, good. Your old one of your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, we're gonna head on over there here in a little bit.
Well, let me say this just to the people that are watching too. Yeah. One of the things our bookstore is going to do, we're going to give part of our profits to your book, to our Tupelo Lee County Humane Shelter. So there'll be more dogs rescued. as a result of this book. So I encourage anybody that's thinking about buying it to not only get to read a good book by you, but to help make a contribution to our humane society. So I think that'll give us a chance to do that too. So thank you for giving us a chance.
That means the world to me. And I would also remind people that, you know, if you got the wherewithal to do it, go out and get one of them dogs.
Yeah.
Get one of those unwanted dogs and raggedy dogs, and, you know, go to the pound and get one of those dogs that desperately needs a chance. Speck was within, I would say, a day or two of being beyond help. And so that means the world to me. Thank you for doing that.
Well, they may find like you that you rescued him, but he helped rescue you and your family too. So
absolutely, our life is better.
Yeah,
it's better than it would have been had he not come along.
Well, we're better that you came along, and you take care of yourself.
All right.
We'll see you in person hopefully next time. But until then, you know, you got a lot of people around here at Tupelo and Northeast Mississippi that care about you and look forward to reading this book.
Well, thank you. I'll see y'all next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right.